Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Painted in Color podcast. I'm joined here with my co-hosts Mia and Eric. We are having a more, I guess, informal episode this December because it's the end of 2020, and everybody is with us in the fact that this year sucked. This year was really, really hard. Um, we were on lockdown for most of it. There were a lot of world events that happened. There was a big election. It was This year was mayhem. Not going to mince words, but we just want to talk about kind of what we went through and how we coped with it individually. So Mia, if you want to start, how was your 2020 in review?
Oh
It's a
my
loaded
gosh.
question.
Yeah, I mean it started with I think I was a year and a half into my most recent serving job, which was like the best income I ever made. I think I made more money than I've ever made as an artist from this job. And I was, like gonna start saving, I was actually gonna finally be able to pay all my bills without any help. Because that's something I actually didn't mention in my last episode, that my boyfriend's really amazing. He has a really great job, and he actually has been supplementing the rent and stuff whenever I couldn't pay for it. So it's like over the years, I would just sort of like work my way up as I'm paying off my debt to pay more and more of the bills. And basically, when lockdown happened, I was finally at that point where we were each paying our own halves, and I felt like so accomplished and so excited. And I was like, now I can start saving. So basically, yeah, when California went into lockdown, our restaurant basically was shut down, and we were all furloughed. And then I think by May, when they decided to open up again, we were actually all like let go, and then they
Mhm.
just emailed us or like reached out to us individually to ask who was willing to come back. And my boyfriend and I had a really long conversation about it, and just like he just did not feel comfortable with me going back, because this was around Memorial Day weekend. And actually, I was hearing from my coworkers that our staff wasn't actually enforcing mask wearing from guests. So they were
Oh
basically
no.
having us wear masks to protect guests, but they weren't protecting us. And so we just decided, you know what, it's just not worth the risk. It sucks to have to go back to this point where he's supporting me in some of the rent. But basically all the income I get from unemployment pretty much goes to bills right now. So I'm kind of like stepped back financially a few years back, which is the main hurdle. But then on the plus side, I get to work on my Alice project. So I did a ton of writing this year. And just, yeah, just I was trying to mobilize and just rethink my career. And we'll get into this more later as we talk to everybody. But for somebody that kind of was relying on conventions actually for the last 3 years to sell, like to have my bigger sales, and to have that completely gone as well. I think I was only supposed to do one show this year, which was WonderCon, and that got postponed. And then I
Hmm.
actually ended up just asking for a refund because I'm not comfortable doing that next year anyway, just with the state of
Yeah.
things. So in terms of that, this year for me was just rethinking how am I going to make my career? Because all this time I've been relying on a non-art source of income, and now to just sort of jump in before I feel ready to sort of make a living as an artist. And you know what? And just going like, I guess I just have to like sink or swim. So that's what this year has been about for me. So just taking on freelance while I'm writing and working on Alice, and trying to keep up my Patreon, and that's been amazing to have that as backup. But yeah, just rethinking a lot of priorities for sure.
There's a lot of stuff going on this year. What about you, Eric?
Oh man. So so I never really leave this basement. So this year's been all right. I mean, well, professionally it's been all right. Personally, I've probably worked a little too much, probably to keep my mind busy so that I'm not thinking about how screwed up the world is and how messed up things are, as far as like if you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
if anybody's out there that has kids, you had daycare, you had school, you had
Mhm.
time, you could go to your job, or if your job was at home, you could do your job during the day and not have to worry about your kids' safety, or more or less. And you could just do your job and focus on it. Um, for the past several years, I've just been working from home, and I knew there was a set structure. Get up, get the kids ready, take them to school. Then you have between 8 or 9 to about 4 to do your job, right? Before you got to go get them. Now it's, it was the beginning of the pandemic when everything shut down, especially in New York City and Jersey. The daycare started closing, the schools closed, and then we didn't know what we were going to do. We really didn't. It was a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure, a lot of shouting over like, well, who's gonna watch the kids while I work? Well, what about us? What about this? What about that? A lot of stress over time and safety and a lot of those things that you never really had to think about. We actually ended up, because all of the spread of the virus, I mean, it hit like key cities in the United States first. It hit New York City, hit Seattle, right? Like hard.
Yeah.
And like for the first time in my life, heard the words morgue truck.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I had never put those words together in my head, morgue truck. And just that alone made me say, okay, well, maybe I ought to just stay home. Whereas some people heard morgue truck and went, well, let's go out to the bar and get beers and like cough on people. I don't know what the deal is with that, but we had to have a serious conversation about, okay, well, if we get this virus and we die, who's going to take care of our kids? Like that was a whole conversation that had to happen this year. That's messed up. So if I get an email from a client saying, hey, are you available to do this book cover on top of all of this other stuff going on? I say, hell yeah, because it takes my mind off of the absolute horror like going on in our personal lives. But that's so many parents all over the world having to deal with that. Okay, well, we didn't plan for a pandemic when we decided to have children or start a family or buy a house or whatever. Like you don't think about stuff like that. Well, what if there's a pandemic? Yeah. When you're decision making. So, I mean, other than the personal aspect of it, professionally, this year has been freaking awesome. I mean, I don't have any like, I mean, I've had really bad years. I've had years where I wasn't getting anything. No work was coming in. I was freaking out about what I'm going to do to pay for stuff. But between teaching and juggling commissions and selling originals, and this has probably been one of the professionally one of the best years of my life. But then that's so weird to say, because then there's like thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are dead.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. It's, you try to look at the positive side and the upside. Well, you're doing okay. You're alive. But like I've got family members that are not here anymore because, the wrong relative came to their front door. So that balances everything out. And I don't know. It's been a roller coaster. So I'm not really looking forward to next year, honestly. I don't, they're talking about vaccines and everything, and I'm not opposed to getting a vaccine when it's available to us. I mean, we're probably like third tier down or something like that. So we're not getting it till the summer anyway. But yeah, it's just, I try to smile. I try to laugh, but it's, I've been really thinking about the emotional and psychological effect it's had on kids.
Yeah.
Not just my kids, just kids in general can't process. Why can't we leave the house? Why can't I go play with my friends? Why can't I see Nana? And you know, it's I have to remember to be compassionate about the fact that, you know, my daughter can't comprehend why we can't go spend Christmas with her grandmother, you know, this year. And that's just messed up. Like my son took his first steps in quarantine. Like all of this year has been I don't know. I don't know if even saying bittersweet is uh, the right word, because it's, I don't know. I don't even know what to say anymore.
No,
So
it's totally all right. It's a really difficult balance to celebrate your accomplishments during a year that was so heavy for well, for all of us, but for so many people who were directly affected by the pandemic, because you're like, well, like, you know, I was able to sell some paintings, or I was able to get these awards or accomplish these things. But also, again, yeah, like you said, people have died. So many people have died. And the thing is, like, like so many of these deaths could have been prevented if people were just responsible and smart about how they conducted themselves during this pandemic. Like, at the very least, what, like, the best I can say is, because I was inside working, I didn't get anybody sick. I didn't get sick because I at least conducted myself responsibly. But that, I can't say that for so many other people who have gotten it or tried to be responsible, but because other people weren't being responsible, they got it. But I think that it's, you know, it's, I mean, mentally, it is really hard to kind of keep those two tracks like separate of your professional life, where you're trying to, you know, focus on, for me, focus on growing my Etsy store and finish my freelance and do drawing challenges and starting the show. And, you know, all these things that I'm really proud of that I was able to do and to do with other people. But at the same time, balancing that with, you know, the protests that were happening this year, and spending some mornings just sobbing into my hands trying to work because I was so depressed by how awful everything was going on around me. It was like that meme where there was a fire, like a city on fire in the background, and an artist in the foreground just saying, does anybody want to buy a painting? Because we still have to survive regardless of how awful the world is, because if we don't, then, you know, we've succumbed to it. And we're trying to make the best of a horrible, horrible, horrible situation. And the fact that we have made the best out of it, and the fact that, you know, all three of us have accomplished a lot of really great things this year, I think we are allowed to be proud of that. And I think any artist, anybody who was able to accomplish anything this year, because if they didn't, honestly, it's okay, because this year is mentally taxing. It's really hard to get through. And, you know, like, we picked it up and kept going. And we've all been in a really fortunate situation. I've definitely been fortunate, you know, just being in the position that I'm in, because I am, you know, in my 30s. I have a house that I was able to bunker down in. I had a roommate for most of it. You know, my studio was very accommodating for me to work from home. And I actually got a new job during quarantine, which was crazy. You know, so I was really lucky that everything was very accommodated, and I didn't have to put myself in a place of danger. But I can't say the same for so many other people who had to go out and work in retail and work in food service and work in, you know, these other industries that were essential, and, you know, hospitals especially, who were on the front lines of this thing. You know, I can't say the same for that. And so I give everybody the biggest commendations for being, you know, I mean, they have to do what they have to do. Like, I don't even think they want accolades for it, because they're just like, I have to survive just like everybody else. I need to make money. So, you know, I feel for those people who had to do what they had to do and be out in danger every single day. But I can at least say that I feel very, very fortunate to have been in the position that I was in. And the least I can do is hope to give back in some kind of way. You know, I've been doing a lot of donating. I've been, you know, trying to uplift other people. I've been trying to mentor people. And it's really difficult for it to feel like enough. But this is what is in our power. And we can't fix the entire world. So with the, you know, with what we have, with our skills that we have, this is the best we can do. And And I think we are allowed to give ourselves a little bit of credit for doing the best that we could do with a terrible situation. Um, but yeah, all in all, professionally, it was a really good year, this year. It was on track to be an amazing year if the world was still open. But regardless of, everything closing down, somehow I was still able to, to make a lot of things happen this year, which I was really, happy about. But, personally, it has been really difficult just to cope with everything. Getting new therapists and realizing that I have very rampant ADD really, really got really exacerbated by being at home and being out of the studio for the first time. I kept seeing these memes floating around and I'm like, I think I might have ADD. I'm forgetting a lot of things, and I sure am not accomplishing a task without doing 5 other tasks in the middle of trying to get one thing done. So that's been interesting. But yeah, what else happened? Yeah, personally, it's just been, trying to keep myself above board in terms of managing anxiety, trying to, not fall into depression, or if I do fall into depression, trying to get up and do the thing anyway. Um, there's some days where I felt like I was forcing my mind through a sludge, just like trying to crawl through a tunnel just to focus on something, just to get anything done. And there were some days where I was just staring at the screen and I just had to close everything out. And I'm like, I know this thing is due. I can't do it. I cannot do it. There's no way I can push past this wall. And some days where I was like, all right, let's get it. And, fighting anxiety, fighting burnout, fighting depression. It's just been kind of the theme of ups and downs this year for sure. But, despite all of it, we were able to launch the show. We were able to, to make it happen, which I'm really happy about. I was able to finish my October drawing challenge. We got a successful Kickstarter, funded. I started a new job. I got promoted. Like there's a lot of great things that happened this year too. I think we're allowed to celebrate the good things as well as acknowledge the horrible things that have happened. So that's where I'm at mentally this year.
I have a question about the anxiety part of it. Do you have any tips for how you were able to bring yourself back up?
Yeah.
Was it dietary, exercise, or like what did you do?
Exercise, how cute.
Right?
I wish I exercised more this year. I'm real bad about that.
I cleaned off my treadmill so I could
access it.
access it.
I was actually considering getting an under the desk treadmill. There's this thing that you can purchase that like you can easily fold it up and you put it under your desk and you actually can walk while you're on the computer. And if you get a desk right, like if you're working just on a laptop or whatever, it might be a little bit harder for artists who have to work on a Cintiq or, paint. But if you're working on a laptop, you can actually get like a desk riser, which will put your laptop on like a higher platform. And you can just like stand and like type on that while you're walking on this treadmill. And when you're ready to stop, you just fold it up and put it away. It's really lightweight. My friend said she just got it, and I'm considering getting one too, because I actually have a sit stand adjustable desk. So I would easily be able to do it. And I can walk better than I can stand for long periods of time because I have wonderful back issues that are starting to develop. Thanks, Mom.
Is this motorized or something you just like caused by body movement?
Yeah, it goes like 3 miles an hour. So it's actually kind of like a brisk pace walk.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I'll put a link or somewhere. Maybe we can pop it up in the video or whatever. Like click here and go to this treadmill. But she says it's amazing so far. So I'm like, I should just get one. Be good for my health.
Mm-hmm.
No, but for anxiety, what I would say, I mean, everybody requires a different thing, right? Everybody's anxiety looks different. But for me, I would have to actively avoid the things that trigger my anxiety in the first place. And so the first step is being aware of what actually triggers it. If you're not sure of what triggers it, try to kind of like look at the last time your anxiety really went haywire and look at, what elements were around you. Was your room really messy? Was everything just piling up? Were you worried about a family member, or were you looking at the news, or were you doom scrolling on Twitter? Because, all these things can pile up and contribute to your anxiety, right? So what I had to do was become very self-aware as to what was setting me off and start to eliminate those things from my life. So if I caught myself doom scrolling, I'd be like, nope, no Twitter. I just close it out. We're done. We can't do this right now. You know, it sounds silly, but I stopped watching scary movies and depressing shows. Cannot watch Handmaid's Tale. Can't watch other dark, you know, super dark shows, because I would find that after I would be done watching it, it put me in a dark place. And sometimes you just have to know and you have to avoid it. I would have to be very honest with my friends when they would start talking about politics. I would tell them, I'm not in the place that I can actually deal with this right now. Can we please talk about something else? And, you know, if they're good friends, they'll be respectful of that and stop talking about those things that trigger your anxiety. Because for a while, like talking about political things would really set me off, because I can't do anything to control that. I can't do anything to stop evil cartoon supervillains from doing the thing that they're going to do. So the best I can do is at least control what's actually coming into, you know, across my path, and removing those blockers so I can get things out of the way, do what I need to do. So just become really self-aware, or try to be as self-aware as you can. And I know that some people can't completely eliminate all of their stressors and all of their, you know, triggers, but at the very least, try to get rid of the ones that you have control over, and try to deal with the ones that you don't have control over the best way you can. Highly, highly, highly recommend therapy, even if you don't have anxiety or depression or anything, even if you're just going through a generally tough time. Even if you're not going through a tough time, I would recommend therapy for literally everybody. There's a stigma around therapy, and I think that that stigma needs to go away, because there's nothing wrong with looking for ways to improve your life and to improve how you cope with things. That's for anybody to use. So that's my advice. And as far as handling anxiety, I don't know, like how did y'all handle, you know, your respective anxieties and stressors?
I wanted to say real quick about your therapy thing before, but just because I'm so glad you brought that up, that it's like, for me, it was almost like anytime we'd get tunnel vision during a week, to have somebody to bounce off ideas like, am I overreacting to this thing? Or like, why am I beating myself up for this particular thing? To have somebody that has a zoomed out view on your life telling you, no, you're actually being too hard on yourself, or no, it's actually good that you're taking rest right now. And then the other piece I was going to say is, especially now that we're sort of living way more close together with the people we live with and seeing them more often, it's nice to have somebody that you can unload all your stress onto, that isn't your partner, that doesn't live with you, you know, and then that person can absorb that, because yeah, that like living working from home and stuff, and living closer together with everybody, because you don't have these outlets, because of the lockdown. I think that we get more stressed out about each other, and there's moments where it's like, I need to release something, but my boyfriend is not in the mindset to hear me out in that moment. So to have a therapist that can actually, you know, be there for you, and like a text away or whatever it is really amazing. So I would definitely recommend that. But anyway.
Yeah, my dad's wife is a therapist, and business has been so good she opened up her own practice.
Oh, wow.
Like
Makes
her
sense.
phone is constantly buzzing with potential, like people inquiring about her availability. Like that's how messed up
Yeah.
the country is right now, or like Maryland, just specifically the state of Maryland is right now. But yeah, I cut caffeine out of my caffeine and sugar. So like how?
Yeah, how exactly? The sugar part I don't get.
Yeah, sugar, same. I can cut caffeine out, but sugar, oh my God.
Sugar's in everything.
I know.
Like I want to chronicle the. I'm glad that these videos are being recorded. These are recorded so that we can come back a year from now and see how sexy I'm gonna look. So yeah, but the caffeine part, I had to take that out because I was finding myself getting really jittery, especially uh, due to the amount of pressure I was putting on myself to do everything to, distract myself from reality. Yes, I can do this project. Yes, I can do that project. Yes, I can do this. And then drinking coffee nonstop to keep myself moving, and like just becoming like this jittery, like angry, like pre-Incredible Hulk kind of stare. You know what I'm talking about? like, the hell did you just say to me?
Oh no.
Kind of with the silver eyes.
Got aggro Eric on here. Nobody mess with him.
Like, no, you can't have a lollipop. Get out of here. So yeah, I was that. And after I had to, once I got the caffeine out of my system, I felt so much better. And it wasn't like what, like in the movies where somebody steps out of a storm, like, or the commercials where they're stepping out of a storm and then the sun and it's like the Tweety birds and all that. It wasn't like that. It was more like a light switch. It was like, or like a weight, if that makes any sense. Like, I just felt lighter. Like, no, that doesn't bother me. Go ahead, have all the lollipops you want. It's your teeth, just like mellow it out.
You became Zen Eric after aggro Eric. So there's two modes to you so far: aggro Eric and Zen Eric.
Yes. So, like, some people go to therapy, some people exercise, other people punch walls, and like, you do what you got to do, or change your diet and mellow out. So, I don't know. Everybody handles things differently, and
That's true.
it's just this year has been trying for so many people, and I don't think people talk about it enough, but I think about the people whose only outlet, whose only escape from home was work.
Mm-hmm.
For children, for spouses, and all kinds of abusive relationships and things like that, and then like, I gotta stay home with these people.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I couldn't imagine. Yeah, like,
no.
yeah, I saw that in the beginning when this was all happening, there was an article that said there was, domestic abuse was rising because everybody's back in close quarters. They don't really have an escape.
Divorce rates,
yeah.
like, people like, I couldn't stand your ass.
Yeah, it's like, I actually can't stay home with you. Like, this is crazy.
I don't like the way you chew softer.
And I really feel for those people because I don't even know what advice I could give them. Like, I don't know what I could tell people who are stuck in that situation. But, I have been in a group, it's a story, we call it Story Club. We meet every Tuesday and we're on Discord and we just all talk together. But there are a lot of people who have been going through, rough situations, and, they're, at least I've had a network of people to talk to and to bounce things off of. And we've been trying to support each other as much as we can. Not everybody has that, but that's a big part of what's helped me get through this year, is to, build out as many networks or find new networks even as I could. There's a whole Discord, like Black and Animated, that I've been in, and just like talking to other Black artists has been really heartening. And, just like talking to my friends, playing D&D, just like all these things that are an escape from the regular world and actually helps time go by without being agonizing. Having those little pockets of respite is really amazing. Artist Discord and everything. It's just been, it's been a really good way to stay connected to people. But not everybody has that, and I hope that they can find that.
I'm the complete opposite, though.
You're hermity?
I prefer solitude. People,
that's fine too.
Even before this year, I remember dear friends of mine would say, Eric, you want to come out? Eric, there's a party, we could go down to Main Street and there's all these gallery openings and they're serving wine, they got food. I'd be like, no. Like, Supernatural's on. I'm like, I got my PlayStation. Like, the hell is out there that I need to see?
Yeah.
Nothing. And I'm still in that same mindset. Like, if I don't have to see human beings, I'm good.
That's why, like, the true introverts are doing fine in that way, but like the extroverts are like, oh, I need to get out of here. I need to see people.
Dying right now.
Yeah.
I honestly could stay in this. That I have a little mini fridge in the garage. I'm
good. Like, bunker down.
I'm good. Like, there could be, like, honestly, until it was time for me to dump the trash, I wouldn't know what was going on outside. It could be snowing right now. Wouldn't care. No,
Yeah, you don't have
So
windows too. You don't you're in the
no, I
matrix.
have one little slit of a window with
Oh,
a curtain over it. So it's if I turn on my fluorescent light, it's always 12 noon light in
oh
this
my
studio.
God.
Wow.
So house arrest,
See, that's what I
come at
can't
me.
that's what I cannot do. Like there's been weeks where I just haven't left the house,
Mhm.
but I am in an office that is like has a big window right in the front of me and a little window right in the side. And when it was spring and summer, I could just have the thing open for a nice cross breeze, sunlight streaming in. And that was just enough to get me. I'm a sun child. I need sunlight in
Yeah.
order to like survive.
No,
But
same.
yeah, I don't necessarily need to leave the house. It might surprise it surprise some people, I don't know, but I'm an introvert as well, so I've actually been kind of vibing over this break too. But I'm an ambivert, so that like I can kind of switch. But if I need any social time, honestly, I think work has burned that out enough from me because I have to be on Zoom all day anyway. I'm in meetings all day,
Mhm.
and during work hours is really when I want to be left alone the most. I'm like, I just want to have Critical Role on and just get my assignments done. But you want to have a meeting about something that could have been an email. Why are we doing this?
Lauren, I'm actually curious because my boyfriend has a lot of meetings too. And I've noticed that since lockdown happened, he has more meetings during the day than he did at his office. Is it the same for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't know because I never worked in that particular
Right.
studio before.
Right.
I didn't have that many meetings when I was at EA, and I don't think I would have had so many meetings, but I also got a promotion recently. An associate art director now. So I'm invited to all of the meetings.
Oh,
So that naturally was bound to increase, but man, the Zoom fatigue has been real.
oh my God.
I mean, this is fine with me because I get to talk to, like my friends basically. But when you're trying to do work stuff, there's just meeting after meeting. There's
Yeah.
just been full afternoons where I haven't been able to get up from my desk or go to the bathroom or just get a snack because just back to back meetings I have to be on and I have to be present. And if somebody is like trying to schedule a meeting now that I see that doesn't have to be a meeting, I'm just like, hey, can we just resolve this in Slack? Like I cannot, my schedule's way too full. I can't have another meeting. And, I've had to be very honest and upfront with people and just be like, and tell them just like, hey, Zoom fatigue is a thing. And I actually value my time away from the screens. I get furious when people schedule meetings over lunch because I want to get out of my office and go downstairs and do something else besides sit in front of my computer all day. And they're taking that away from me. And so I'm like, I need you to respect my time as well. I really need that time away from the screen. Otherwise, I get very burnt out by the end of the day, just having to communicate all the time. I
Yeah.
really live for those few hours where I can just be silent and have Critical Role on and just focus on what I actually have to do. So
Yeah.
that's how
It's
it
been a
is.
nice mental shift for me to start doing commissions and oils again because I do spend so much of my time in front of my Cintiq or talking to students through Zoom and all that, but to shut all that off and then just sit and paint or mix colors and all that stuff, listen to some movie soundtracks and just let part of my mind just shut off when I just go into render mode is bliss.
My favorite.
Bliss. And if I could get away with locking that basement door,
You'd be set.
I'd be set. So,
I found that focus really hard though, like what you're talking about. That was my dream when I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going back and I get to focus on making art all the time. Oh my gosh, like I used to have to work 30 hours every week on something that wasn't art, and now I can work on art and keeping house and cooking all the meals and all this other stuff. But yeah, I was like excited for that. But because of the constant anxieties, like from this thing or another all throughout the year, I found like, I mean, maybe I have ADD too, but it's just like I just like feel like I'm gravitating towards social media. I need to know what's happening. I need to know what the bad news is before it hits me in the face. And so for me to get that focus that you're talking about, that zen, I actually had to turn social media off for like weeks
Yeah.
at a time. So it's like I'd post and then it'd be gone for like 3 weeks, or post, be gone for 2 weeks. But I had to take like all these breaks that I've never had to do before, because I just feel like with everything going on, it's like I need to be plugged in and know what's happening, because I guess my anxiety works that way, but it's been working against me. And I don't know if it's been the same for you all, but it's just like it almost feels like because now we are like maybe more wired than we were when we weren't out of the house. At least for me, it's just been a thing that I've had to do. And to the point that it's like I used to care so much about posting every day on social media and stuff, like the things that everybody always says, like, you know, like to get your numbers up. And I just did not give a shit about that at all this year. It was just like my mental health is first.
Oh
And
my God. Yeah, keeping up with social media has been so difficult. You know, like I think the only time I was consistent about posting was during 31 Boutiques. And then after that, I didn't post anything for the entire month of November because I was so burnt out. I only posted like one Black Friday sale and that was it. But it's been like I said a little bit earlier, I kind of hinted to it. It was a Herculean effort to get my mind to just zero in, like you were saying, Eric, like you could, like that Zen moment where you can just let your mind wander while you're rendering lovingly a piece of hair or something like that. That moment hasn't happened for me in such probably, I mean, definitely this entire year. Cut it, just not happening this year, but it hasn't happened for me in a while. It's been very hard for me to badger my mind to focus enough to sit still and finish one piece. It's been really difficult for me to finish personal work because of that. When I sit down and I try to start, I just start to think about all the other things that I should be doing, or maybe I'm being too indulgent. Maybe I should finish freelance instead. I have to do laundry. Oh, I probably have to clean the kitchen. Okay, so maybe I have to like go out and buy something for the thing that I need. Oh, I have to ship Etsy orders. I need to reorganize my office. I have to clean something. I got to feed the cat. Now, all this other stuff, I need a snack. I'm going to eat a snack instead. I'm hungry now. I'm not really hungry, but I just need to munch on something just to distract me. This is my mind every day. It's been a nightmare. I miss being able to go into Zen mode and let go and just raw.
I only get a fraction of how your day to day is. That only happens to me late at night, and you know that because I was talking to you recently because somewhere around 12 o'clock at night I was like, what, I wonder what happened to this cast member from season 2 of The Real World. And then like I fell down that rabbit hole of going, oh man, he's still doing comedy clubs, and oh man. You know, like, well, what happened to these people from the Miami cast to the San Francisco? And before I know it, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh man, my kid's gonna be up in 3 hours. I guess I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if that only happens if I am really, really tired and am too tired to focus on making art or even playing a video game. Then it starts to wander into like ridiculous realms and I can't stop. So it's like, okay. But have you tried making a list of things?
Oh yeah, that's the low-hanging fruit kind of stuff. A list. Of course I have.
I have a whiteboard. I have a little calendar thing. I make Post-it notes. I literally have like 10,000 lists. I'm like, maybe this one will work.
Oh God! So listen, the bad idea.
Yeah, Eric, cute of you to assume I take myself seriously enough to look at those lists. And
oh my God! Okay. Wow.
Oh, believe me, I have tried.
Wow.
And you know, I've been trying a bunch of different coping mechanisms. Again, therapy helps because they suggest really cool things that you can do, or sometimes being aware that some days it's just not going to happen, and giving yourself the allowance to just fall into ADD, because then maybe the next day will be better, and usually it is, because maybe you've gotten to actually rest. And I have found when I actually let myself rest, and here's the problem with anxiety. Anxiety don't like you to rest. Anxiety be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be sitting here. Maybe you should be doing all the other things instead. Isn't that fun?
Like, you've not earned this break yet. Like,
exactly. Maybe you don't want to just enjoy yourself for a second. So yeah, you have to curb that voice, because that's the tough part about actually like recuperating from burnout. I think the biggest thing that's helped me, because this week has been maybe one of the best weeks mentally I've had in a while. The reason why is because I actually went away from my house and cabin.
Oh, nice.
So I actually exited my home for a period of time in a place where I actually had to relax, had no choice but to not work, didn't have my Cintiq with me. And it was just with me and just very few friends. It's very small, very safe. We quarantined for 2 weeks before we did it. But that felt like a real vacation. And I came back feeling refreshed and like I could focus. And that was the only thing that helped. That was the only thing that helped. But otherwise, actually, it's the opposite from you, Eric, because coffee was also one of the only things that could get my mind fog. I call it mind fog, to get that to clear. There's some mornings where it was real bad, and once I drank coffee, I was just like, "What?" I'm like, oh, I can actually do this thing. Okay, did that task, now I can do. Like my mind would get back in order for a limited amount of time.
Yeah,
But
I can't function like that anymore because I didn't like who I was,
mm,
and there's always a part of your brain. It's kind of like you're possessed, but there's like in terms of supernatural, like you're possessed by like the demon, but there's always the part of your brain that is aware of what the demon's doing, like while he's controlling your body and you
yeah.
can't stop it. You know what I'm talking about? Like anybody that's like you've seen season 4 to season 15, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so like when you're snapping at somebody and you're like, they don't deserve that. You need to stop. But you're like, I haven't finished what I'm saying. So, but then without the coffee, I just go, you know what? I could flip, but I'm not. I'm gonna go back and watch SpongeBob.
That's so the opposite for me. That's really, I mean, I don't snap at people. I'm not really in like, I don't get in bad moods that often, but there's some mornings where I'm just totally fine. I don't need coffee every day. I don't need caffeine every day. And so there's other mornings where I'm just a sludge person. And once I have the coffee, I'm like, oh, I'm alive again. We can think now. This is good.
Yeah.
So that's really all it does, is just like jumpstart my brain a little bit.
But
Yeah.
I'm in the middle for both of you because I have coffee every day, but it's 1 cup. And it's because actually it just started with the pandemic. Like I wake up every morning, even if I get 8 hours of sleep, and I just feel like I'm rising from the grave. I feel completely dead. And it's just like I have like no energy. And I just feel like I can't even open my eyes. And I know I'm not the only one because there's like some Discord chats that I was on. There a bunch of people were saying the same thing. And I was like, I'm glad I'm not the only one. But apparently one of the things is lack of vitamin D because we're not outside enough. So I started taking supplements this week, but to see if it'll make a difference. But it's just horrible. So it's like if I don't have that 1 cup of coffee, I will not wake up, and it's just. But then I do the reverse to relax at the end of the night. I used to not have to do this, but I have a glass of wine pretty much every day, and that just relaxes me. And again, that's why I can't give up the sugar because it's my one thing that gets me to just like focus on the moment, just be where I am and not stress about other things and just unwind. And you do what you got to do. And I feel like I have not really exercised all this month. My eating has been all over the place, and it's just like I've just kind of thought, what, this year is kind of out. Like
It's out of the window.
It doesn't count. I'm just gonna do what I can to get by, short of hurting myself, or like doing anything that's really bad for my health. But just I'm not worried about being my best self this year. And I've seen like the fitness people online going, "Don't let the pandemic be an excuse," and I'm like, "Fuck off."
Get up and do it. And I'm like, I don't have any energy to do that.
There's no way.
Do you guys ever get movies or not movies, but music lyrics stuck in your head when you're anxious?
Oh, that's anytime. Yes.
Does it play on loop in your head like at night?
Not really. Not
I
That
have
is
it real bad.
the
exactly.
absolute worst.
When I'm anxious, it does happen.
But what's cool about that is when I get anything over 7 hours of sleep, there's a song from an episode of the Brady Bunch that gets stuck in my head and it plays and it wakes me up and I'm in this like happy, positive mood.
What?
And for like maybe 3 or 4 hours, it's like in loop in my head and I am blissfully happy. So
Brady Bunch is the answer.
Brady Bunch is the answer.
Brady Bunch is the answer, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, there is a playlist that I would play. I would open every morning with that felt like a very bright morning thing. It's it's actually on Spotify, and it's an Animal Crossing remix playlist that was like, I guess, Animal Crossing lo-fi. And it was just, it's the most delightful thing. Like the first song opens up and it's just like really like happy, like islandy tunes almost. And it just feels like the morning. And it reminds me of the morning every day. And that's how I would start my work day. And it would just put me in a really good place mentally. So that's been one of the things that has helped me through the pandemic. Just good music and good shows.
Yeah, I have to second the vitamin D suggestion. If people are out there like feeling crappy or they're not getting enough sun or anything
Yeah.
like that, vitamin D. Plus, my wife's an ER nurse, and what they've been discovering is that people that have been more susceptible to the virus had low vitamin D levels. So, I mean, that's across the age brackets.
Wow.
So,
So go outside if you can.
yeah.
Yeah. It's been really important. Like I was really annoyed about this feature in my neighborhood that my mailbox isn't attached to my house. It's like, one of those community mailboxes, even though I live in a house. But the way they planned my neighborhood was that there's a mailbox right across the street, but that belongs to that side of the street. My mailbox is way across the way. I have to go across the square, cross the street, turn up a street, and then my mailbox is there. So it takes about 10 minutes for me to walk to my mailbox.
Oh God.
The good thing about that is in order to go get my mail, I have to walk. So I at least get to walk every day. And well, there's some times where I just don't do that. But for the most part, I do. And it's nice to just have that little moment. You can take a break, walk outside, get some sunlight. It's a neighborhood, so I can easily avoid anybody coming around me. And so that's been nice. But not everybody has that luxury. Some people just live in apartments. And, I think that you should still try to find a safe place that you feel good to walk in if you can. If you can't, at least try to bask in some sunlight for a little bit. That's good too. Try to move around as much as you can. But I was really good about it at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm not as good about it now since it's gotten colder, but just try to keep that in mind. Like walking outside is really helpful and really healthy. So
And back in April, I took my daughter outside to play, and one of the neighborhood kids was out there riding her bike, and I swear to you, it was like a scene out of Cujo. We like both hopped in my car, like, because I didn't want to go back inside, but I wanted her to play. So we just jumped in my car and I pretended to like drive her around, and the neighborhood kid was just riding her bike around our car. Like, like this kid needs to get out of here. You ain't coughing on my baby.
That's terrifying.
That is horrifying. It's like,
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, this is like, they're just like, Cuomo's announcing how many people have died today and all this stuff. So we're all super anxious. And then the neighborhood kid is just riding her bike around our car, like smiling. It was so creepy.
Yeah. Get this kid away from me.
Yeah. So my daughter like popped her head out of the sunroof and was like, "Get away from us! We can't play with you."
Your daughter knows. She knew what's up.
I felt so horrible. But at the same time, I'm like, man, this is creepy as hell.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's just, I don't know, it's just been so rough too. Like, not being able to be around my friends. I'm a very affectionate person, so I love hugs. Not being able to hug my friends has been super hard. But also, I really just miss the luxury of being able to go to a coffee shop and sketch and just draw and like be somewhere else that's not my house and just exist in another space. Going to the studio was always really nice because I could be around all these creative people and bounce ideas off of them in real time. I could go to sketch nights and story nights and go to my friends' apartments and, draw collaboratively. That was some of the stuff that really got my inspiration going and got me feeling really good. Going to life drawing class, I used to be able to do that.
mm-hmm.
Now I'm like, okay, now I got to do Croquis Cafe. And I'm like, this isn't the same. Like, what am I supposed to do about this?
Yeah. And there's actually, to that point, there's so many of the models that I used to draw like almost, once every few months and stuff. And they are all doing the Zoom like figure drawing, which is like, I've done a few of them just to support them because I feel bad that they can't have the figure drawing in person, but it is not the exact same thing, especially if you're more of a beginner. Like we've
Yeah.
had like people just saying like, I can't see the three-dimensional form, and it's like to rely on just a 2D image basically is really hard to learn figure drawing that way. And like you really have to use like your knowledge of anatomy to fill in what you can't see. But it's
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's got the same angle.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not like
It's not
there's
that varied. You
people up
can't.
at the front, some
Yeah.
people in the back. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Art Students League is doing virtual life drawing classes, and there's a bunch of other places that are doing it too. Um, but it just feels weird. So
Yeah, it's just going to because everything is flattened out. You don't get that environment. I miss the smell of life drawing rooms because it was usually an oil painting studio.
Mhm.
So just that lingering scent of oil paint while you're in the room on a wood easel on a rickety stool. I miss that feeling so much. I really, really do. And I
just
honestly, yeah.
oh, go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, I honestly don't know how to replace that experience or even that like getting the three-dimensional elements to draw. But I have been drawing my cats a lot. I don't know what that is. I've been drawing the plants around me, and my roommate for a while I would just get her to pose for me if I needed her, and she would do that, but not for like a full session.
Yeah.
I've been trying to cope, but it really just isn't the same. And I don't know if it's not going to be the same because this year is an exceptional year.
Yeah.
So you just have to make do with what you got, but maybe draw other things that are around you. Especially living things in 3D are really, really nice.
Here's a tip for you. I don't know what if you've got like central air or radiator heat or something like that, but
Radiator heat.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of house you got, but
Not in a house.
uh,
1950s.
I was gonna say, like, if you could take some clove oil, get clove oil, and like just put a couple little dabs in your studio space, and that will simulate that smell of an art studio, like linseed oil, clove oil. Clove oil is used as a retardant to slow the drying time of oil paint, and but it's also like used in cosmetics and stuff. So you could find it at any pharmacy, but it's such a sweet smell. It's like I'm sure it's used in like aromatherapy and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but we used to spill that stuff all over the place. So like the whole room, like to me,
Smell like clove oil.
well, oil, yeah, my painting studio like in college smelled like clove oil. So
That's actually a good idea. And another advice that I heard from an artist was to really make sure that the place you're working in is a place that you feel inspired in. Mia, I think you're taking this to heart 100% with your Christmas lights and the things that are around. I'm trying to, I haven't quite finished my endeavor yet, but I have plants in my studio now. See, my cats are doing the most right now. It's kind of crazy, but sorry, I'm just hearing stuff in the background. So if that mic is picking it up, I'm really sorry. But I just like have plants like that are around my desk. You can't see it because my background's on. Let's turn it off. So yeah, ignore my background. I'm doing Etsy orders, but yeah, so like just having like nice greenery, something alive around you. So it's something I found really helpful just to keep myself inspired, especially because I'm a person who loves plants. And whatever you like if there's art that inspires you, if there's like you like crystals or really cool design elements, things like that, try to get that into your workspace as much as you can, even if you don't have a studio room to work in, even if for your desk or wherever you're working in. Just make it feel like a space that you want to be in, because I feel like whenever my office is a mess, I just dread going to work and being in here all day. It's one of the things that heightens my anxiety, not having a neat workspace. So it's one of the things that I really think are important, is just keep your area clean and keep it cool looking for you.
I mean, it doesn't have to be that clean. I mean, as long as you know where everything is.
I mean, you just saw my background, but
Yeah.
I'm doing something, so I'm
Yeah.
I have an excuse.
But I've got a life-size Baby Yoda coming from Sideshow Collectibles
Nice.
somewhere between January and March.
Yes.
Kind of got jealous of like I guess people that worked on the show got theirs already, and I'm like, how'd you get it? It was on pre-order. Oh, well, that's right. You had to know people or had to work on the show to get
Worked
your.
on the show.
That's messed
Of
up.
course they get first. No, it's not.
Like, I want my baby, and clearly you let me know that it's in a warehouse somewhere. Come on.
I better be getting my swag.
But
Shoot.
that's I have like art on my walls, and from like try to collect stuff that I can afford and like hang that around, so I have something. But yeah, this is like my little fortress of solitude. So
Mhm.
whenever was at my most anxious, coming down here just cranked it down like 50%. Like halfway down the stairs, I felt better. So
Yeah.
like if you have a spot like that in your home, go to it, never leave it. Like,
No, terrible advice. Don't give that advice. No, see, the thing for me, because I have to work. Okay, I think I might have talked about this a little bit in my interview, but the thing for me about this office space is that, or studio space, is that I have to do work full time in here, as well as do freelance, as well as do personal work, as well as do Etsy store stuff, all in this one room. So sometimes I actually don't want to come in here because this place is where I have to work. So the rest of my house has become effectively the place where I can relax. So my living room is solely for leisure, solely for my leisure. Um, but when I'm at my drawing table, I actually feel much more. Don't laugh at me.
I'm just thinking of like Captain Picard saying Sheshwal.
Schedule. Oh yes, I have to work at my leisure. I get a wine glass. I just have to find something to swirl.
That's funny. No, that's a good
But
thing to make like escapes for yourself that are not your work area.
it's really important, like to be able to create some separation. And again, not everybody has this ability to do so. But if you can, find a pocket. Even when I'm at my drawing table over there, if I'm just drawing in my sketchbook, I feel much more at ease than when I'm sitting at my desk. So even within my room, I have pockets that I feel like I'm not working because I'm never at that drawing table when I'm working 8 hours a day, my full-time job. So yeah, there's ways that you can create little spaces of happiness for yourself, but you have to be diligent about keeping those things separate, what you're doing there. You have to make sure that if you're at your desk, you're working. It's hard because social media is there and it exists, but you're in the working mindset at least. And when you're away from your desk, you're out of that working mindset. Keeping it separate has really been helpful for me a lot, but it does suck when I have to come in here by necessity and I can't feel like I can't relax. So it's a double-edged sword there. It's been interesting. What
Definitely.
about you, Mia? What is your space like? How'd you kit out your space? I know you just got this place not too long ago.
Yeah, my boyfriend and I moved to a slightly bigger. It has like one more room than the place we had, so we were lucked out that everything sort of the stars aligned during the pandemic for that to happen. We couldn't have been at a better time, and it was actually a really scary decision to make. But we keep telling ourselves every day this was actually the smartest thing we could have done in terms of like finding a place that we feel like we can each have our space. Because in the old apartment, I would hear his meetings next door and couldn't
Mm,
concentrate, and now he's upstairs and I'm down here, so we at least have that separation. And yeah, this has honestly been just stuff I've collected over the years and stuff. So while you were saying that to like outfit your place, I was thinking about myself like 6 or 7 years ago when I was in a ton of debt and I didn't have, I couldn't afford to buy things that made me happy. But I would save up for the one thing and like really and like hang that up and look at that thing, and it's like and just over time, just like accumulate a few more things and stuff. But yeah, it's just I guess like for me it is really important to make this place somewhere I want to come every day and work. But like you said, to have another part, even if it's just like your bedroom where you can just chill and it has
mhm.
nothing to do with work, is really important. And if you don't have that place in your house, to find a safe place, like safe way to get out, like you said, like even if you have to wear a mask while you're walking outside and just like slip it off every time people aren't there so you can breathe the fresh air. Like that's what I do because none of our neighbors wear masks and stuff. And so anyway, but one thing I did want to say about this whole year, I know there's a lot of artists that they're not getting to do what we're doing. They're not getting to work from home. Even if like some of us have full-time jobs and we don't have a lot of time to work on our own personal art, we are working from home and safe and all that stuff. I have some really close friends that are essential workers, or they're working at jobs that are open and they have to keep working their 9 to 5. And especially if it's a public facing service industry, retail type of job,
Yeah.
those jobs are already so thankless. So like you see the worst side of humanity at those jobs. And to have a pandemic and the risk of health like on top of that, like I can't even imagine the stress that they're going through. So for me, like what I tip as much as I can, you know, like if you have the extra money, definitely like tip those people. They are going out of their way to make sure that our lives are running, you know. And right now we can't increase their wages. So that's what you can do to make to show them, you know, that you appreciate them. But then for the artists that just like, I've had a lot of artists tell me that it's like, I don't have the energy or the motivation to work on my stuff after the end of the day. And it's, and I guess I remember that too. It's like the times that I had like 2 jobs and I just didn't have time or energy. And I felt bad for not being motivated to make my art. And the way I got through it was just thinking, this is just a season in my life. It's not going to last forever. And also it's okay to not get to be at my best right now. I have to, this is like survival mode. And I know a lot of artists too that came into this year saying, this is the year that this is going to happen for me. And this is going to happen for me. And like, for me, it's like, I'm going to finally get to start a savings account and not be in debt. And it's like, you know, like it sucks, but it's just like, get through the year. Like that's been like my mantra anytime it's been like really rough. And I'm just like upset that I'm not where I want to be in my career. You don't owe like any, I mean, I guess it's not about owing people, but I guess it's like, don't beat yourself up. Don't make it harder on yourself that you're not where you want to be. This isn't going to last forever. And just do what you can to get through it, even if it's just mentally, or even if it's just like slowly building like your skills to where you can eventually be hired by that big company or start selling your work. But don't expect to be at this level, you know, like without a pandemic happening, you know. I'm not sure if I'm making sense right now, but
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess it's just like, it's one of those things that's like, again, we see on social media so much like how everybody's doing, and we always unfairly compare ourselves to other people's success. And again, all our situations are very different, you know. Everyone's financial situations are like, whether we had to return to our jobs or not, whether we lost our jobs, whether we got evicted, all of those things are things that you don't necessarily see about the people who are posting on social media. So just give
Well,
yourself.
that's the unhealthiest part of social media, is you're only seeing people's what
Good.
they want to show you. They're representative.
Yeah.
You know, their face. They're you're not seeing, you know, slightly off camera where, you know, relatives are having nervous breakdowns, or you know, they have no money in the bank, but they've got this really cool drawing of a robot that they've got to post on social media for their 10,000 followers. Like, you know, you know, but if you talk to that person at a convention, you go, wow. And, you know, life is wrecked for everybody. So
Yeah.
We're just trying to get by, you know.
Right.
And some
Yeah.
people have it harder than others, and it's just like, and it sucks, but it's like, don't add any extra pressure, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, you will get there. It just won't happen maybe when you want it to. And it's like, that was it for me. Like, I didn't expect to be working on this book for like 8 years or 7 years. And it's like, if I kept thinking about that, I would drive myself nuts and just never finish it and be like out of shame. But it's like, if it, you know, I'm just going to keep getting on the horse. And to me, it's just like, I'm going to fall off the horse probably like every fucking day. But as long as I keep getting up, like that's what I'm going to keep track of, you know, and just keep trying. It's going to happen for you.
Yeah. I think artists are some of the people who have the cruelest internal monologues about ourselves. We put ourselves under so much pressure because every waking moment we think could be spent making art and doing something productive. And it's not how life works. You literally can't just keep going and going and going without rest, without allowing yourself to feel other things aside from productivity. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's been a really hard thing for me too, because as somebody who, you know, is kind of like a try hard, like I'm trying to do everything all at once, I had a hard time really allowing myself to just feel my feelings and be unable to do things on any given day. And I'm like, I'm hitting such a wall because I'm not letting myself do that. And I feel like a lot of artists are doing that because again, this year is one of the hardest years mentally for so many people. And to try to expect yourself to be at the same level of productivity that you were in previous years is just, it's unrealistic. And it's okay not to be as productive as you were. And, you know, even if it looks like I was productive this year, there was still so much that I wanted to accomplish. There was a lot that I could have done. But at the same time, a lot of that stuff that I was doing was just trying to escape from the harsh reality that was this. So that was how I coped with it. But everybody copes differently. And those mechanisms are valid as long as you're not hurting other people, and, you know, try not to hurt yourself with your coping. But just like, I think that so many of my friends, there was one person who was like, she just started a new job and she was like, oh, I feel like I'm being so unproductive. My boss hasn't said anything yet, but I just feel like I can't get my groove on yet. And I can't, I feel so bad. I feel awful. They hired me and they expected something of me, and I'm just not performing up to their expectations. And I'm like, whoa, like, slow down, slow down. First off, you're working from home during a pandemic and this job for the first time. You got to let yourself ramp on. Like, give yourself a second. Like, just do this for yourself. And second off, I'm like, just be honest. Like, if you're really feeling like you're not being that productive, just, you know, ask your boss for, you know, feedback and say, hey, what can I do better? What am I doing well? And let it come up organically. 9 times out of 10, it's you putting that pressure on yourself.
Absolutely.
And they are not even seeing that from you. You know, I was at my job thinking that I wasn't doing nearly enough, and all the feedback that I've gotten was just really positive. And I'm like, oh, I thought I wasn't doing that great. Huh, maybe this is just me putting all this pressure on myself. And I find that so true for so many artists, is that we tend to think that we're doing so much worse than we're actually doing. And, you know, sometimes we are doing bad, and that's okay too,
That's
especially
okay.
this year.
Yeah.
But just give yourself a break. It's okay. Like, it's okay. Just like, you're doing the best you can. Let it be what it is.
And it's like, you couldn't have prevented this pandemic, you couldn't have predicted it. So it's like, you can't blame yourself for it happening. And it's just like, it's hit so many industries, not just art, you know, like performing artists, all this kind of stuff. And it's just like, everyone is reeling from this. And there's also the point somebody made too, that it's like, it feels like once people's you know, incomes sort of get squeezed, the first thing that they drop is art. And there's that anxiety of like, why am I making art if no one's going to be able to afford it? But there was also that debate in the beginning of the pandemic too, where people were actually talking about the value of art right now. Like, that's
Yeah.
what people escape to, is video games and music, and like they buy art to make themselves feel happy. So what you're doing is absolutely valuable, even if people, and I'm saying this from experience, even if people aren't paying you money and there's no monetary value for it right now, it is valuable. And you need to find that value in doing it and continuing it, you know, because it's like, it's not a non-essential, it is an essential thing.
Yeah.
And yes, of course,
I mean, it also does the act of being creative.
yeah,
Whether it's, you know, performing art, whether it's, you know, you know, 2D art, whatever. The act of being creative switches on a part of your brain. It releases chemicals, endorphins, dopamine, whatever. You get excited. Your brain just switches from whatever was stressing you out, and you can just focus and relax. And that's that Zen moment. And yeah, this year has been a mess for so many people. And if you can just find some moment in the day to do what you love, that's it. I mean, it sounds overly simplistic, but it's just finding an hour or two or whatever. I mean, if it's playing PlayStation, if it's getting excited over that next episode of whatever it is that you want to watch, or if it's painting a portrait, you know, dancing badly in your living room. I don't know.
That's been plenty of days here.
Yeah. So
a little thing to get us through it, honestly.
Yeah. There was a method that I saw for bullet journals, because I used to keep a bullet journal back when things were, you know, open, but I started trying to get back into it again. I'm a little bad about it, but it's whatever. But there was a column that I made in my bullet journal that for every day, it was just like 20 minutes. what did you do today that made you happy, and just dedicate 20 minutes to it. And for me, that 20 minutes was designing a mushroom outfit, because I just love doing that so much. It's so much fun. Now I sit in my egg chair and do it, just do my red pencil sketches. Or, just like taking care of my plants, like repotted a plant. I always like doing that. Um, what else do I do? Just like sitting on my patio in the sunlight for 20 minutes. Just those small things. Those are things that build up over time. Those are things that help your mental health just incrementally increase until you actually feel like you might be in slightly a better place than you were a month ago if you're doing it every day. Just make sure you take those moments. Like I said before, my lunch breaks are sacred to me. I go downstairs, I watch Netflix, I watch Schitt's Creek, and it's such a good show and it makes me really happy. And that's my hour of solace per day. Even if I don't have any other time during the day to relax, that's at least my time to relax, which is why I hate when people schedule meetings over my lunch. But find something that gives you joy and hold on to it. And if it stops giving you joy, then find something else. It's because it's hard to find joy right now. It's hard to find things that, things that once made you happy may not make you happy anymore. But if you can at least feel some kind of relaxation around it, or if it's something that gets your mind off of the world on fire, just find it. But yeah, like what Mia said, understanding that your art is essential, and that even for your own mental health, to just be able to lose yourself in it for a little bit, it's important for you. And if people can see that it's giving you some kind of solace, then maybe other people will see it as well. Doing the thing that you would like to do, people tend to notice it, and it helps more than you think. It really does. So don't devalue it like this country has, because this country is really not good at recognizing the value of good art, or value of art in general. They infantilize animation and video games and, artistic media. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. This medium deserves so much more respect and credit than the world gives it. And it's only because there's passion around it. It seems like a frivolous endeavor. This industry is hard. This is not frivolous at all. It takes a long time to be successful at it. So don't think that your art is a waste of time, or that it's not important, or, like the world on fire. And it's like, does anybody want to buy a painting? That is valid. It might feel silly sometimes, but it's totally valid. Even if you're drawing fan art, even if you're drawing, spicy things, even if you're drawing just things that, you feel like you're wasting time on, you're doodling. It's all important. Yeah. It's really, really important. Final thoughts. Like Springer. Mia, you go first. Haha.
So I guess just some practical advice. I would I like your image of the burning city, and like somebody saying, "Would you like to buy a painting?" Like you should definitely ask that. But I feel like the other thing too is to like be really self-aware during this time too, and see like this stream of income is not reliable anymore, so I have to pivot in the coming year. Maybe it's temporary. It might not be fun. Maybe I don't want to take commissions, but I have to if that's where I'm going to get the most traction, I guess. To me, that like for me, that's been this entire year. It's just been like, it's a privilege to get to work on this thing that I'm not getting paid for. But I need to make money. Like my unemployment's running out actually in 2 weeks. So it's like, I've had to make those decisions and do stuff that I didn't do in the past. And so I would just encourage everyone, just in terms of just getting through it, to really self-analyze in terms of what your career was up until now that was reliable, the stuff that's changed, because honestly, that's your entire career. It's like the people who make it through a long career are the people who can adapt to changing markets, changing tastes and art styles and stuff. And hopefully the pandemic's effect on the art industry that you were in is not going to be permanent, but it's the reality right now. And just like wishing that it would just trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results is not effective. So I would just do whatever, even if it means like, well, I guess I'm not selling my art right now. I'm going to, work with, be someone's administrative assistant or whatever it is, or get some other kind of job temporarily. Like get yourself through it and keep building your art. Even if it's like at every day you're working for an hour on the same drawing and then it finally gets done after a month. But yeah, I would just focus on, I guess the more practical results that you can get in terms of your art career right now, the less you'll beat yourself up about not making ends meet, you know? That's just like one of extra pressure off. So anyway, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, if I can add on to that. Uh, so to admit the weird way I've lived my life up to this point is that I live it in a way that I expect anything that I'm working on or anything that is making me income to fall through at any given moment. And so I make an A, B, C, and D contingency plan just in case. And it's perfect for years like this where things just go haywire. I don't believe for a second that my full-time job could be around tomorrow. I mean, it's a huge corporate. I mean, I know it's fine, but internally, I act like I won't have that tomorrow. Or like, what will happen if I don't have that tomorrow? What can I fall back on? So try to be as flexible as you can, especially as an artist. Conventions have dried up, and conventions were, for a lot of people was a big part of their income, being in person and doing things. There's a lot of ways to pivot from that. Make sure you research as much as you can. Be flexible to open and to, new experiences. Open yourself up to new experiences. I just started a TikTok. I didn't even know what to expect from TikTok, but apparently it's not bad for artists. It's actually pretty good for artists. So, that's another thing that there's different things that you can do, to step outside of your comfort zone and to explore what your options are if you need extra income. I know that it's a really difficult time to, pull yourself together and to really get yourself together mentally and to get yourself to start something. But if you have a friend or someone who cares about you to hold you accountable, tell at least one person. Tell one person, I'm going to do this, and then make sure that they actually hold you accountable for it. Because even if you can't pick yourself up with your energy, you have somebody at least in your ear who's telling you you should. So try to do that and see if it works. If you have the motivation to do it, then that's fantastic as well. But a lot of people don't. So get that extra support, make contingency plans, and above all, just be nice to yourself. If you can't do it right away, or if you take a long time to do something, it's okay. Just do what you can, but try your best to survive in the meantime, and try your best to keep yourself healthy and sane. There.
Oh, I mean, wow, that's beautiful. I don't have anything.
Speak from the heart,
I'm just
man. It's all
I'm
right.
just
Whatever you
listening.
want.
It's like you're talking to me, and I'm like, oh.
Oh,
But I guess I will talk about um the physical and mental aspect of it. So that's the career advice, that's the professional aspect of it, but the physical, emotional toll, um, I would say find, like we had mentioned before, like find something that makes you happy. Exercise, watch your diet. It's too easy now to sit and binge something with a whole pie in your hand. Somebody's probably doing that right now. You know, there you go. Like pie,
got a whole pie in
right?
my fridge.
Why is it
Yeah, there you go, right?
Why is it in my house?
But like it's comfort food. It's doing something to your body. It's making you feel good. But just move around. Get up from your table. Get up from your desk, from your computer screen. Um, Exercise, calisthenics. Like, try get a pair of resistance bands, or some dumbbells or something like that. A lot of that stuff was sold out
yeah.
online
Mhm.
all over the country
Yeah.
because people had that same thought, like, oh, the gyms are closed. Okay, well, I don't have that outlet anymore. Guess I got to do it at home. Take care. Just try to take care of yourself mentally and physically, because yeah, you know, this will end eventually, but you don't want to end up having a doctor tell you got diabetes at the end of it.
Yeah.
you know that would suck. And then you just remember pie. So
I
yeah.
think, yeah, I think to add on to that, an easier way to be good is to really, again, it's a self awareness thing, right? it's to find a way to be healthy that works for you.
Mhm.
So first, I would recommend don't ever go cold turkey on anything. Don't ever do that. It's such a bad idea because what will happen is that you'll try it for a week and you'll be like, oh, I'm doing so good. And then all of a sudden you'll rubber band, you'll relapse right back really hard. And then 2 weeks later, you wake up in a pile of sweets and you're like, what did I do? So ease yourself into whatever you're doing. Don't pressure yourself right in the beginning because it's always going to backfire on you. Don't do that. Second off, find things that eat food that you enjoy, but that are good. Also, because I get depressed sometimes and because I get anxious sometimes and I can't focus on any one thing, I like to do what I like to just like get together what I have. Depression meals is basically things that are still relatively healthy and extremely easy to make and doesn't require that much prep time because I just won't have the energy to cook a whole thing. So yeah, but moral of the story is think about what works for you,
Yeah.
what works for your body, what you can accommodate. For my physical activity, I would actually play DDR because I hate jogging and I hate like it's hard for me to just get in the middle of my office and just like do push-ups or like lift weights. But DDR was a good way of cardio for me, and I love DDR. So find something that specifically suits you because you'll see all these fitness gurus being like, oh, you have to go out and do this specific thing. If it doesn't work for you, you're not going to do it. So you got to find the thing that works for you and that you're actually going to do and that you want to do. And then you can ease yourself into the harder stuff later.
Dance Dance Revolution.
Yes, right. Oh, sorry. Yes,
Dance Revolution.
It's an old arcade game that I used to play when I was in high school. And I loved it. And I was so in shape and I was so skinny and I had abs. It was crazy.
Wow.
I would play it all the time.
Wow.
But I have the home dance mats now. It's like it's a rhythm game where you like you press the arrows with your feet and you dance to the music in time. And so I have the home dance pads on my PS2 that I borrowed from a friend. And so sometimes I'll just get my mat out and play DDR to be physically active. And I'll be sweating and I'll be pantsing and it feels good. And that's my cardio for the day. Half an hour set.
Damn.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, but find what works for you. Keep yourself as happy and healthy as you can considering these times. And let's hope that next year will be somewhat better than this year. Hope you all stay safe. Love you all.
Thank you so much for listening to us this year too. It's been really amazing to have you all tune in every 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hope to continue to give you so much more content next year. I'm really excited about what it could bring. So thank you, everybody.
Yay.
See ya.